The Shadow over Newcrest. Prologue, Chapter 1. I say to you again, do not call up any that you cannot put down. Ask of the lesser, lest the greater shall not wish to answer, and shall command more than you. H.P. Lovecraft, The Case of Charles Dexter Ward. Dear readers, I have tried to piece together, to the best of my ability, the events which have conspired to bring about the shadow over Newcrest. I am but one of the two remaining menfolk in town. The rest have disappeared, and I fear the worst for them. The resources are incredibly limited, as I am locked in this tiny room with only the barest of essentials to survive. I am permitted a bed, a sink, a toilet, some books, and a writing desk. Rations are delivered once a day. I have been confined here ever since the destruction of Ophelia Villa, of which I am the primary cause. I've gathered the following information through friends' epistles, my own observations, and inferences. The following tales may seem disconnected at first glance, but they all have contributed, in some fashion, to the current circumstances. Regards, Alexander Goth. Chapter 2. Day 1. Dearest Wilma, I hope the Watcher is treating you well. Yes, I'm still afflicted with those terrible dreams. Life in the cupola is very much the same as it always has been. Same curtains, same sink for washing, same 3 meals a day. If I did not have the Newcrest Gazette, my books, or your letters, I would have gone completely mad long ago. For the moment, I'm only halfway there. Katrina and her new husband Don shall be staying with us until the flood passes. The mayor of Oasis Springs ordered the entire town to evacuate. I cannot imagine a worse way to end a honeymoon. Wait a minute. I see headlights. That's them! Their motor car has just pulled up to the curb. The engine has stopped. Don is opening the door for his wife. Oh. She's as lovely as ever, although something's troubling her, and it isn't the flood. Don't ask me how I know. Yours, Alexander Goth. Chapter 3. Day 2. Dearest Wilma, do you remember the summer we met? It was a Wednesday night in the middle of June. I had sneaked out of my bedroom window at 9:30 in the evening. I had just finished the 3rd entry of my favorite series, The Llama Boys in the Case of the Missing Plum Bobs. It had ended on a cliffhanger. The plum bob thief had locked Joe Llama in the janitor's closet on a Friday afternoon. I could not bear the thought of waiting until morning to find out if Joe made it out in time, let alone until my parents' schedules permitted. The sun hung low in the sky, but there was just enough light to see by. I rode my bicycle the 1.5 mile distance that separated Ophelia Villa from the Willow Creek archives. The lights were off, save for a single lamp on the 1st story. How odd, I thought. Maybe the librarian is still here. The door was unlocked, just like I thought it would be. Funny that not a single municipal building is ever locked here. Suppose we live in a very trusting society. I quickly found what I was looking for, but how would I face the librarian? I racked my brains for a palatable excuse for why a young boy was out alone at this time of night. You can imagine my relief when I saw you. You were sitting in my favorite chair, the one on the 1st floor that overlooks the little pond below. I still remember the book you were reading, An Introduction to Reason. I must have stared at you for a full minute before you noticed me. Is there something the matter? You asked me in a tone that wasn't of annoyance, but of complete apathy. What are you doing out this time of night? I said. I could ask you the same. As Katrina Caliente walked to the front door of her best friend's home with her new husband, her mind kept replaying a conversation she had with Don 2 days ago. They were on their honeymoon, and natural disasters were the furthest thing from her mind. Don? Did you ever notice how there aren't any cemeteries anymore? Katrina said. The two were lying on their backs, watching the stars over Granite Falls. Where do we put the dead people? Not everybody has room for a headstone in the backyard, or even counter space for an urn. It's like the toilet. No one ever thinks about where the poop goes when it's flushed. Things can't just disappear. Things can't just disappear. I explained to you my situation, dearest Wilma. I told you how I wanted to know what happened to Joe Llama and if the plumb bob thief was caught. You spoke in a way that suggested maturity beyond your 8 years. I often follow my father, you said. He's at the Blue Velvet. I like to hide and watch what he does from the bushes. First he walks up to the bar, and he becomes a different person. He's no longer the man who flits about Newcrest, chittering to himself like a sparrow who has lost the worm. He becomes charming and really, really funny. He begins talking to a woman. Usually it's a woman. Sometimes it's a man. He asks, "What's your favorite?" Then the bartender will make a wrench, or a Ridgeport, or a zebra fizz for Father's companion. Father, however, always orders the same thing for himself. It's a drink I've only ever seen him order. I'm not sure what it consists of, or what it's called, just that it's a vile-looking black concoction, served in a martini glass and garnished with this curious little flower. It's a delicate flower, too, an unusual one at that. Its petals are slender, blood-red with fuchsia tips. Its sepals, the flower's outer protective petals, black tendrils. The most curious part of the specimen, however, is the disc. The florets are positioned in such a fashion as to make the center part resemble a skull. I would not have believed such a flower existed had I not seen it with my own eyes. Drinks this concoction in one gulp. Evidently, it is not the type of juice to be savored or enjoyed with a side of bacon. Buys a few more drinks for his companion. Then they leave. I suppose Father takes her home. That would be the most logical conclusion. He's never left with the same person twice, because those who leave with him don't come back. Your tale left me in a stunned silence. Even I, the 8-year-old child whose primary concern had been the llama boys not an hour ago, understood the implications. However, one single fact bothered me about your story. You still haven't said why you're here. Why not wait outside the Blue Velvet? Boredom, you said. He does this every time there's a full moon, and every 5th Wednesday. I go thachlir cthrod. Yours, Alexander Goth.